King Edward stood outside the gates of Dressal, patiently waiting for the arrival of Alistair and his men, along with the Dark Ones that followed behind. "I see Lord Alistair and his knights," the lookout shouted. "They are being followed by men in black armor. Be they demons? King Edward, do you hear me?" Edward ignored the lookout's warnings and lifted his sword up to his face, whispering, "Old friend, I am in need of your power once again for one last battle." The king lifted the blade above his head. "I am not going to let you harm my knights or my people. Go back to hell, Dark Knights." King Edward started to chant loudly in an odd language. "Que nome me jaki." His eyes turned as red as the sun, and the armor he wore became consumed by flames. Everyone watching was in awe over what they were witnessing. Not a single person knew King Edward still possessed such power. Once Alistair and his men made it inside the city safely, the king went into action. "I unleash the flames of hell upon thee," King Edward screamed, before he slashed the blade through the air, unleashing a blinding bright light. When the light faded, the Dark Knights, along with the horses they were on, had vanished into thin air. Were they vaporized? Or were they burned into nothing more than ash? Only the king knew the answer, but none of that mattered, for his knights and the people of Dressal were saved. Alistair jumped off his horse and made his way over to King Edward. It didn't matter to him what he had just witnessed. It was more important that the king knew of the situation. "Your Majesty, the Dark Knights have burned down the village of Crenshaw to the ground. There was none to survive except for that child that Gawain holds. Also, it seems as though they were searching for something. But I am unsure of what that is, my king. What should be our next move?" "Alistair, head for the castle with the rest of your men. We shall talk about things later. For now, I need a word with young Gawain over there." "Understood, my king," Alistair replied. He bowed and took his leave. King Edward walked over to where Cain and Gawain were standing, having a conversation. "Where did that child come from?" Cain asked. "I found him hiding outside the hut." Gawain lied to Cain, remembering the promise he had made to the boy's father, and he intended to keep it. "Do you really expect me to believe that?" "It's the truth." King Edward appeared beside them. "Are you Gawain?" Cain turned around as if he was going to give a smart-ass reply, but that changed once he realized that it was the king himself. "Your Majesty," he bowed. "My name is Cain. This here is Gawain." "Thank you for being humble, Cain," he said. "If you don't mind, I would like a word in private with Gawain." "Of course, my lord. I will take my leave at once." He bowed, then humbly walked away, leaving King Edward alone with Gawain and the child. Edward went to walk away, but Gawain was quick to stop him. "Your Majesty, I almost forgot to tell you. That man also told me to give you the message. The time has come. They were his last words. He said you would understand," Gawain explained. Those words seemed to upset King Edward in some way. "Gawain, take that boy to the academy. Make sure he's clothed and fed at once. Also, you are hereby ordered to become a master of the academy and teacher of the arts to this boy and all others as well. Remember your promise well, young Gawain." Then he turned and stormed off towards the castle.